Chinese soldiers have joined the Russian war in Ukraine. That's the claim being made by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. On Tuesday, Zelensky told reporters that Ukrainian forces had captured 2 Chinese men fighting on Russia's side in eastern Ukraine. Now, this is big. If true, it could potentially threaten the fragile peace effort in the works.
We captured Chinese soldiers on Ukrainian territory. Ukrainians entered the battle in Donetsk region, in Tarasivka and Belgorod, with 6 Chinese soldiers. 2 were captured.
Remember, China is a close ally of Russia, but is not publicly known to have directly aided in the Kremlin's war efforts. Beijing has also offered to mediate a peaceful solution to the war and proposed a 12-point peace plan in 2023. Writing on X, where he posted a video of one of the men, Zelensky said that Kyiv has information suggesting that there are many more Chinese citizens in Russian units. He said that he has ordered his officials to get a response from Beijing. Now, it's not clear whether the captured men were regular soldiers, and Beijing is yet to issue a public comment. But Zelensky has already made up his mind. He says that Chinese involvement, whether directly or indirectly, is a clear signal that Putin intends to do anything but end the war, it seems. And this comes amid a confirmation of Ukraine's new shock offensive inside Russian territory. Ukraine's 47th Mechanized Brigade has released drone footage showing strikes in Russia's Belgorod region. The brigade said in a Telegram post it was targeting Russian troops gathering in houses. The video was released after Ukraine's president admitted for the first time publicly that his troops have been active inside the Russian territory. Remember, Ukraine's operation in Kursk, another Russian territory where they made a surprise incursion last year, continues. And according to latest reports, Ukrainian troops remain in parts of the neighboring Russian region. 8 months after a cross-border incursion, though Russian forces seem to have recaptured much of the lost territory. Last night, on Tuesday, during his nightly video address, Zelensky referred to the operations and congratulated the unit for its performance.
Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky also reported on the front line our presence in the Kursk region and our presence in the Belgorod region. We continue active operations in the enemy's border areas, and this is absolutely justified. The war must return to where it came from. Our main objective remains the same: to protect our land and our communities in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions from Russian occupiers.
And despite Russia's recapturing of areas of Kursk in recent weeks, Zelensky has hailed Ukraine's operation as a successful one, in that it drew Russian forces away from the war's main front line, that is in Ukraine's Donetsk region. In fact, he has said that thanks to Ukraine's cross-border operation, the troops have been able to better defend the country's own eastern front line. But questions are still there. Has Ukraine's Kursk operation really helped the country? Did it really take the pressure off east in the front line? Because even though Zelensky defended Ukraine's cross-border operation and hailed the Kursk operation as successful, Russian troops have continued to decimate Kyiv's troops in East Ukraine. On Sunday, Russia said its troops had seized the village of Basivka. It is located in Ukraine's northeastern Sumy region, opposite Russia's Kursk. They were said to be battering Ukrainian forces in different settlements. Meanwhile, the Russian president has repeatedly suggested that Russian forces carve out a buffer zone along the border, and what's more, Russian forces also continue to mount multiple attacks on villages around the eastern Ukrainian town of Pokrovsk. This is as per the admission of senior Ukrainian military officials. On Tuesday, Ukraine's police released a video showing police officers driving through shattered streets and charred buildings. In Pokrovsk, around 7,000 people are believed to remain inside Pokrovsk, which had around 60,000 residents before the war. Remember, Russian forces have for months tried to encircle Pokrovsk, a logistics hub. But Ukrainian troops have so far managed to resist the Russian advances. Pokrovsk is located in the Donetsk region, by the way, and has seen intense fighting over the past year. But geolocated footage tracked by the Institute for the Study of War showing that Russian forces have made marginal advances in south and southwest of the city. So then what does Zelensky hope to gain from Belgorod? Russia's Belgorod, which has a population of 1.5 million, is located close to Kursk. In March, Russia had admitted that Belgorod was attacked by Ukraine. However, the Russian military said they had foiled Ukrainian attempts to cross over into Belgorod. By occupying Belgorod, Zelensky hopes to once again divert Russia's attention away from Kharkiv and Sumy regions of Ukraine. Ukraine, by the way, is also trying to ease the pressure on its other regions like Donetsk. According to reports, Ukraine's operation in Belgorod is much smaller in scale when compared to its raid in Kursk. In Kursk, Kyiv's troops had at one point seized a number of villages, including the regional town of Sudza. Zelensky and his top commander saying that such incursions have forced Russia to redeploy troops from the Donetsk region, where Russian troops have been making steady advances in recent months. But a number of war analysts have questioned the military experience of Ukraine's operations on Russian soil, and they have pointed to high combat casualties and weapon supply difficulties. As far as talks to end the war go, it's unclear where they stand right now, but with the operations in Belgorod, Ukraine hopes to hold on to as much Russian territory as possible so it can exchange the occupied territories for future ceasefire negotiations. Remember, currently Russia controls about 20% of Ukraine's territory. Will Ukraine be able to achieve its objectives in Belgorod? And to what extent will it help Ukraine's case in any future peace talks? In what came as a surprise announcement, US President Donald Trump said that the US and Iran were poised to begin direct talks on Tehran's nuclear program. But Iran's foreign minister has said that the upcoming discussions in Oman would be indirect. Direct or indirect talks have been scheduled in Oman April 12, and they will come after days of warmongering between the two countries. Trump's announcement is a surprise, as Iranian officials had seemingly rebuffed US calls for such talks. Iran had pushed back against Trump's demands that it directly negotiate or be bombed, though it had initially left the door open to indirect discussions. Listen in.
Is it possible to give us some more information at what level the U.S. is represented?
High level, very high level. Yeah.
And
we're dealing with the Iranians. We have a very big meeting on Saturday, and we're dealing with them directly. You know, a lot of people say, oh, maybe you're going through surrogates, or you're not dealing directly, you're dealing through other countries. No, we're dealing with them directly, and maybe a deal is going to be made. That would be great. It'll be really great for Iran, I can tell you that.
Warnings by Trump of military action against Iran jangled already tense nerves across West Asia. And why shouldn't that happen? Just look at the state of affairs in West Asia. In Gaza, in Lebanon, the continued military strikes on Yemen, Israel-Iran exchanges of fire. Iran's foreign minister, in fact, posted on X that indirect high-level talks would be held in Oman. But he rightly said that it is as much an opportunity as it is a test. On Tuesday, Iran's state media said the talks would be led by Arakchi and US presidential envoy Steve Witkoff. The intermediation will be done by Oman's foreign minister, Badr al-Busedi. The US and Iran held indirect talks during former President Joe Biden's term, but they made little, if any, progress. The last known direct negotiations between the two governments were under the then President Barack Obama. He spearheaded the 2015 international nuclear deal that Trump had later abandoned. Now Tehran says its nuclear program is wholly for civilian energy purposes. But like US presidents before him, Trump has said that Iran cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon.
If diplomacy fails, is the United States, under your leadership, ready to take military action to destroy the Iranian nuclear program and remove this threat?
I think if the talks aren't successful with Iran, I think Iran is going to be in great danger. And I hate to say it, great danger, because they can't have a nuclear weapon.
No wonder then, Iran seems to be approaching the weekend talks with the United States with little confidence in progress, it seems. According to news agency Reuters, Iranian officials still have deep suspicion over US intentions. Trump has repeatedly threatened Washington's old foe with military action, but that is if it does not agree to a deal. And Tehran would want to see concrete moves from Washington before any face-to-face talks between Iranian and US officials. So does that mean Tehran is looking for lifting of some sanctions as a goodwill gesture? That is what reports seem to suggest, at least. Meanwhile, the talks have been welcomed by Russia. Remember, Russia has previously offered to help facilitate talks between Tehran and Washington. On Tuesday, the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, said that Russia has backed either direct or indirect talks between Iran and the US as a chance to de-escalate tensions. The Kremlin official said, and I'm quoting here, "We know that certain contacts, direct and indirect, are planned in Oman, and of course this can only be welcomed because it may lead to a de-escalation of tensions around Iran," quote unquote. On the same day, Russia's lower house of parliament ratified a 20-year strategic partnership with Iran, a sign of the deepening military ties between the two sides. Ultimately, efforts to settle a dispute over Iran's nuclear program, which it says is purely for civilian use, but America sees as a precursor to an atomic bomb, have ebbed and flowed for more than 20 years without resolution. What will come out of these talks? The format of the talks remains unclear, so we will have to wait and watch to find out. These days in Tehran, many women with bandaged noses can be seen on the streets. In fact, it's testament to the popularity of a nose job or rhinoplasty. Women across the country are spending thousands of dollars reportedly in a hope to fix what some call the Persian nose. Individuals of Persian or Iranian descent often have a nose featuring a slight hump or a defined tip. The characteristic feature has come to be known as the Persian nose. And in a country where women's bodies are heavily policed, the beauty industry has become almost entirely centered on the face, thus fueling desire for flawless and sculpted noses.
This issue is not unique to our country. It is prevalent across the Middle East. In many Arab nations, nose and facial surgeries are highly popular. Culturally, this trend may be influenced by the hijab, as there is a strong emphasis on enhancing facial beauty.
According to the International Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, over 264,000 cosmetic operations were performed in Iran in 2023, with rhinoplasty being the most common. Many Iranian women who undergo rhinoplasty report higher self-confidence, increase in social standing, and enhanced perceptions of success.
Well, my self-confidence has increased a lot. I like myself a lot more. The reactions I got from people around me after my operation, who now tell me that I've become prettier, have a big impact on my self-confidence.
However, rhinoplasty surgeries also come with several risks. Iranian authorities have repeatedly warned about increase in unauthorized clinics performing such cosmetic procedures. In February, a dozen unlicensed practitioners were arrested from a hospital in Tehran. And in 2023, 3 women died in a single day during cosmetic surgeries, reportedly. But the demand for rhinoplasty and other surgeries remains high.
After all, surgery has its own complications. But in my opinion, if the surgeon is good, you can trust and go ahead with your surgery. If I could go back, I would have even done the procedure earlier. That is, when I turned 18.